This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Rinella. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. How you doing, Robert?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
I guess we've talked a few times, but we've never. I don't know. What's the difference? I guess we talked on the phone. Now we're talking over the computer, but I'm looking at you. It feels a hell of a lot more like meeting somebody than talking on the phone.
Yeah, being able to put a name to the face and the voice is pretty nice.
Yeah. When I met my wife, I was introduced to her by my sister-in-law, and it was in early April of 2011, and we communicated over email for months and months and months. And we both got to a point where we felt like we were in a relationship, you know?
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, we became very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
And we almost didn't even want to talk on the phone the first time. Well, we were reticent. We were reluctant to talk on the phone because we didn't want to pop the bubble, like
Right.
destroy the like image of one another that we had, and then we didn't want to meet in person because we were afraid that we just we felt like we were in a fulfilled relationship, and so it was just kind of felt risky to meet. you know?
So all over email, you guys had this real tight connection already.
Yeah.
No
And
kidding.
then our first date, she went elk hunting up in the mountains with me with my llamas.
That's a solid first date.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a big aside. But I'm glad you could join me. How you been?
Happy to be here. Been good. Been busy. I think last time we talked, I told you my wife and I just got married back in October.
Yeah.
So that's been renovating the house, getting settled in as a newly married man. All
Okay.
the
You guys bought a house together?
Yes. Yep.
And how long have you been in there?
We bought it in July, had to make some serious renovations, and then moved in September.
Oh, okay.
So we've been here for a minute.
Are you in the Detroit area?
Mid-Michigan, just north of Flint.
Oh, okay. How's your water?
Luckily, I'm not in that area. I've got well water.
Did they ever get that squared away?
No, still fighting that one.
So people are still drinking bottled water?
In some parts of Flint, yeah. My understanding.
Dang.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and the state government here has not been the most cooperative, if that's the way I could put it, to get things done. It's a slow moving ball, and you have a city that's got thousands and hundreds of thousands of miles of lead pipe that all has to be replaced.
Yeah. Lead can be bad.
Real bad.
I've heard that they've been able to quantify impacts of leaded gas on cognitive abilities.
Really?
Yeah, because they have data on the concentration of lead in the atmosphere over metropolitan areas, which varies because of wind, prevailing winds and things like that. And they've been able to link it to declines in IQ points.
No kidding. And just from leaded gasoline emissions?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Man, when I was a kid, my brothers and I, we fished steelhead a lot, and we were always walking around in the rivers with split shot between our cheek and gum all day for days. Because it's just you're always losing them, and it's just that way you got them right there.
Hmm.
You don't have to dig for them. I think that explains a lot.
A funny story. My buddies and I, we pour our own lead brown ball jig heads because they're
Mm.
so darn expensive at the bait and tackle shops. We decided to buy a couple of molds and a lead pot, and we melt down our own, refine it, clean it up with oh, I can't remember what it is. Um, you clean up the lead, get it real clean, get it shiny, and we use those walleye fishing out here.
Oh, yeah. I pour my own trot line weights.
Hmm.
Can you fish? You can't fish with trot lines in Michigan, can you?
That I don't know. That's not my kind of fishing. Even trolling crawler harnesses and everything else, that's not. Which is unfortunate because I'm only about 30 minutes from the Saginaw Bay, and that's what they do up there. They pull crawler harnesses and Rapalas, and that's just not
Oh,
how we fish.
oh,
We've
you're snooty. You're a little snooty, huh?
I think it's the opposite. Most guys, all they do is they troll. And it's getting out, and for us, it's you set your lines and you're waiting for fish to bite. Where I like jigging, and I like to be able to feel the hit of the fish, and you
Okay.
pull that up. They use planer boards and everything out here. It's not just not my brand of fishing. I don't enjoy it.
You like jigging more than trolling.
Oh, I love jigging. My father-in-law, we go out to the St. Clair River in Port Huron, East Michigan. And he always says the tug is the drug.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
No, I'm with you. I don't like using the motor to fish.
Yep.
There's one thing I hate more, and that's not catching fish. So if it's a choice between the two of those, I'm gonna use the motor, but I don't like it nearly as much. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm with you. Those lead jigs, what you pour yourself, the lead's harder, isn't it, than the ones you
Um,
buy?
it can be because you can get it cleaner. There's not as many um
Impurities.
yeah, impurities and contaminants in the lead. So the cleaner that you can get it, the harder that lead is.
Oh no, what I was saying is the opposite. Like I've noticed that lead jig heads that you buy or split shot that you buy is softer than lead you pour yourself.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Why is that?
It comes down to the impurities in the lead from what we found. We've poured some
So there's
um
more impurities in the stuff you buy.
I that one's hard for me to say. I'm just a hobby jig head
Yeah.
pourer. But at least I find the jig heads that I pour, they hold a sheen a lot longer, and I don't have to
Yeah.
paint them
Yep. It's shinier, brighter. Yeah, and harder.
because it's cleaner. It's a cleaner lead,
Yeah.
which makes the paint. We powder coat the paint and put them in a little toaster oven. Um, and we'll double, triple, quadruple coat them sometimes because we're fishing the rockier bottoms of the St. Clair and Detroit rivers. When we're jigging, we're bouncing them off the bottom. So your
Yeah.
paint will peel off and crack off real
Oh,
fast.
okay. Well, don't be huffing those fumes now. That shit is bad for you. I've heard that's real bad for you.
Yeah, we make sure we do it outside, but
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
but
Lead
we don't
fumes
have
are supposed to
respirators.
be horrible for you, I'm told.
I'm sure I'll find out one day.
You ever see like a shell from the ocean that's been polished, or
Yeah.
like or an abalone
Hmm.
shell, Or I guess that when you when people when they sand those down, that is like highly toxic.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder what's in it. I wonder what makes it so toxic.
I don't know. I can't remember. I'd have to look into it, but yeah, that shell polishing could be pretty bad for you. I don't know how we got on this topic, man. So, have you been doing any fishing lately?
Well, we did a little ice fishing. It's been 2 or 3 years since we've had solid ice up here in Michigan to really get out comfortably fishing.
Mm.
Unfortunately, we
Even on
didn't fish.
inland lakes?
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. The most ice we got was about 2 inches. So we had,
Even on the little lakes.
oh yeah,
Wow. When
it's super regional.
I went to my mom's in February. When I showed up, there was a little skim of ice on the edge of the lake. This is by Muskegon.
Okay.
And then a week later, by the time I left, I could walk on it, but
Hmm.
I think it warmed up after I left. That lake used to freeze over by early November every year, you
Yep.
know?
I remember being a kid, and this was only 15, 16 years ago. My parent or grandparents, they lived on a lake in, just north of Clarkston, Michigan. Still mid Michigan area, more pushing towards southeast Michigan. But that lake would freeze over every year. We were ice fishing all the time. My parents had access to a lake on their house, and we ice fished every year. And then within the past couple years, I mean, you hear about the what's it, El Nino and La Nina
Mm-hmm.
systems, but I don't remember them having as big of an impact years ago. And I'm only, I'm turning 26 this year. I'm not that old.
Oh, you are a whippersnapper. What's that? You got a fat ass microphone there. What's that all about?
Picked it up at a garage sale.
Oh,
Thought
you
I'd come in use
did?
one day. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Is that a Yeti?
It is, yep.
Okay. I have one of those. Those are more for if you want to record several people sitting around a table.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds fine. I wish I could figure out the audio thing. Sometimes our podcasts sound pretty decent, and then the one that's out right now, did you listen to that by
I haven't had a
chance?
chance to yet.
It's John Eberhart. You know him?
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. But the audio's kind of crappy. But he's an interesting guy. He's funny.
I'm excited to listen to it.
Have you read any of his books or anything?
I have not.
Okay. So you got out a little bit ice fishing.
Yeah, we didn't catch a whole lot. So of course, Michigan has got walleye out the nose, and it's gotten better as time has progressed. From what I understand, we got into it a couple years ago, but my like heart and soul is pan fishing, bluegill, crappie. I love ice fishing crappie. I always have. Um,
Same,
and
same.
then largemouth bass in the summertime.
I could do without the largemouth bass, but bluegill, perch, and crappie are where it is at.
It wasn't until a couple years ago when I really started getting into the outdoors with my friends, that I didn't realize it was faux pas to eat largemouth bass. We've eaten largemouth bass my entire life.
See, I don't think they're that good.
That's what I've heard, but I don't taste the
You like
difference.
them. You like
I
them.
don't.
I mean, yeah. Teach their own. You know.
I can't tell the difference between a largemouth bass and a walleye, and I'm sure I'm going to get some grief for
Wow.
that.
Wow. The lake I grew up on, I never. I mean, we just fished all the time as we were kids. When we were
Hmm.
kids, I never in hundreds of days of fishing ever caught or saw someone catch a largemouth bass through the ice.
Oh yeah.
And I caught one out here in Montana through the ice a few years
Hmm.
ago. Big fatty,
Hmm.
probably 18 inches long. I was like, I'm gonna try it. Maybe it was just the lake I grew up on, or maybe I was mentally masturbating or something. And I tell you, I fried it up and it was the same. It's got kind of it's the oh, what's that? Oh, what is that beer that's kind of skunky tasting that comes in the green bottle?
Rolling Rock.
No, no, no. Heineken.
Oh yeah.
It's the Heineken of fish.
That's
Now,
funny.
but if you like it, you like it. There's two ways to be blessed in life. You can be blessed with lots of money, or you can be blessed with cheap taste, you know? Like if you
Uh,
like something that other people don't like, that's cool, you know? Uh
that's funny.
the neighbor guy, John Gary, hero of mine growing up, excellent fisherman. He would eat largemouth once in a while, but he insisted on putting the fillets in milk overnight.
Yep. Give
You
him a
do
milk
that?
bath. Yep.
Oh, Well, maybe that's part of your success.
Yeah, there's a lot of the fish. Cat. I mean, of course, catfish will give a milk bath overnight. It
Oh,
really eases out the flavor of it. Not as fishy, especially on a largemouth bass. Um, but I'm also particular on when I keep fish. So crappie, I like cold water crappie. Any kind of warmer crappie is too soft. But then you get
okay.
into like same thing with largemouth bass. Largemouth bass are really like in the height of summer, really soft fish. It's not a
Uh,
firm, fleshy fish.
okay.
That could be
Okay.
completely in my head though.
I'm open to it. I used to think of crappie as a second class fish when I was a kid. And then when I moved out here, I started thinking and eating them here. I started thinking they were just as good as perch and bluegill.
Hmm.
And now that you say that, here I catch them in the winter or
Right.
early in the spring.
Hmm.
And back in Michigan, I would catch them in the middle of summer.
Yeah, it could definitely make a difference.
But
At least in my experience.
perch and bluegill are always firm.
There's nothing better than a bluegill for fish fry. No one can
No,
ever.
no. I've eaten fish from all over the world, from the ocean, everywhere. And still, I'd rather eat perch and bluegill than anything.
I think that's a Michigan staple. You have to, if you're from Michigan, you have to love a panfish fish fry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're lacking in patriotism
You're not a
if
real
you don't.
Michigander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fago and a panfish fish fry.
What about smelt?
I've never gone smelt dipping before.
Mm,
Always wanted to.
yeah. You got to go further north than you used to.
Yep.
When I was a kid, you could you could find them at your latitude. See, I always get that mixed up. Is latitude going north and south, or is that longitude?
I sell insurance, man. You're asking the wrong guy.
You wouldn't have to go further north than where you are. We call them around Muskegon, even south of Muskegon, South Haven. But now you got to go all the way up to Lake Superior to find them.
Hmm. Yeah, you can get up into from what I understand, like the Gaylord area. Or I
Oh,
shouldn't say
okay.
the
You don't
Gaylord
have.
area, but you can stay around that latitude. I think you're correct. That is latitude.
Okay.
That sounded right coming out.
Okay. you know, uh, it is a little eensy weensy known fact that there are bodies of water in the northern Great Plains where people dip smelt.
Really?
I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'll tell you, but I'm not going to say it to my expansive audience. Uh, and I am going to go and give a try this spring. I've been doing a little bit of research.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, you know, I like eating smelt. A friend of mine, good childhood friend of mine, Matt Drost, who lives in Traverse City. He he was I went over to see him and he fried some up this spring or this summer and he said, they taste like clams. And I think there's something to it. They got a little bit of a clam flavor to them.
I've never had smelt.
You've never tried them.
Mm.
Oh. Yeah,
So
you should go sometime.
I want to try it. I'd emailed it to you, and that's how we originally started. Even the idea of getting together on a podcast was just I had listened to a couple of your podcasts and really taken on to what you were preaching. And my we grew up. Um, I don't want to say poor by any stretch of the word. We weren't poor, but when we went fishing, when we went hunting, it was to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the case. And a lot of that was because my dad did grow up poor. He grew up in a 600 square foot house, and my grandma and grandpa tried their best, but family vacation
Right around where you live now.
about 45 minutes south.
Okay.
But when they went to deer camp, that was family vacation. And the idea and the end goal was to bring back as many deer as possible because that was your meat for the year.
Wow. What did your grandparents do for a living?
My grandpa was a body man, and my grandma worked all over the place from assisted living homes, and actually that's where she ended up kind of retiring from was an assisted living home, doing some administrative work.
But things were tight.
Very tight.
Yeah.
Great people. My grandpa he passed
You
when I
told me
was
that your grandpa's kind of your hero.
yeah he is between him and my dad. Man, I couldn't have better role models on what it is to be a good man.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Good for you. Should we jump into the matter at hand?
Sure.
Okay. So what we agreed that you'd look into, and I appreciate it, find people who there's endless things I could be researched
Hmm.
and finding when I find people that care enough about the future of hunting that they're willing to gather some facts and share them with us. I don't know. It's touching that somebody cares enough to actually do that. So I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to
And
help.
yeah, and so there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about bow companies if you care about high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting for hide, horns, and meat and personal enjoyment rather than fame, clicks, and money. Uh, there's our bow companies aren't our friends in a lot of ways. In some ways, they are. Like you wouldn't have a bow to shoot if it wasn't for them. But in some ways, they work against that. And this is all by way of an introduction to the research that you're going to share with us. One thing, Robert. So one thing that led me to encourage you to look into the archery companies is, boy, they can be really tough on access. One of Mark Drury's biggest sponsors is Matthews Bows. He gets a lot of
Hmm.
money from them. Mark Drury has 30,000 acres locked up in Missouri.
No kidding.
And, you know, his sponsors, to a large extent, paid for that. So it we give these companies money for products, and they use that money to make it so we have fewer places to use the products. And Matthews also helps fund a lease for Lee and Tiffany Lakoski, south of Miles City, where I live.
Right.
That that ranch used to be in block management, the ranch they leased down there. Another lease south of town. It's Jason Matzinger and Prime Bows help fund that lease. And these are just the things I know about. Like I'm looking through a tiny little peephole. I don't spend a bunch of time digging, So I just feel like for every case I know of where one of these big brands is de facto helping reduce access, there's 100 instances of it that I'm just unaware of completely, you
Hmm.
know. So anyway, I we decided that you try to identify the least crappy bow company is the way I've been thinking about it.
And
Yeah,
that man, that was a task. It was a real
yeah.
task to try to hammer down what the least crappy bow company was,
Okay.
because um, they're all in their own ways problematic. And I think if you're looking at for-profit companies, you're going to have that no matter what.
Yes, I agree.
So my background, I'm a um, undergraduate student from Northwood University. Also did my graduate program there. Got my MBA from Northwood, but I had my minor in marketing. So even kind of myself grappling with the idea of this, um, like private versus public access. Is it bad that Matthews funds leases to have private access to land in which, they do all these things? It's really hard for me to grapple because my education comes from, hey, the private industry, entrepreneurs, businesses should be influenced to go and make money and make profits. But on the other hand, I'm an outdoorsman at heart, and I feel the pressure on public land, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever else, on what these companies do. And I think when you're dealing with something like the tradition of hunting and public land access, like you're talking about, it can't just be a yes, profit, property rights, or no profit, no property rights. There's a whole lot more of a moral conversation that needs to be had. And I don't think we could have.
Let me push back on that just a bit. Like I have a different framing. The uh, the way I frame this is what I'm trying to do with things, podcasts like episodes like this one, and a lot of our social media is encourage the sportsmen to patronize companies that align with their values.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make a law that Matthews bows can't advertise with Mark Drury.
Right. I understand.
I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to change the priority.
Hmm.
I'd like to see hunters go, bear archery or whatever, bow tech, they contributed to this access project,
Hmm.
Tennessee, or this conservation project in Colorado. I'm going to buy my next bow from them,
Yep.
you know?
Because we really have, and that's what I wanted to talk about is a lot of times we will feel like we're voiceless because we feel as if the public land is controlled by government and we have to contact government officials to create laws or apply pressure, whatever else, when in all actuality, we vote with our dollars nonstop, which is why I was excited to, sit down and figure out what are some companies that we absolutely should avoid? What companies are hurting hunting? And then what companies, when we are making these big purchases for our compound bows that, we're showing off, we're taking a deer camp, maybe you're taking pictures of during the, an archery shoot, whatever else it is. What are you going to tie yourself to? And what are you going to advertise?
Yeah.
Because me, I, a couple years ago, I bought a new Matthews bow before I got into any of this, as just kind of revamping my love for the outdoors, and then talked my dad into getting into a Matthews bow. Um, and after this research, likely I would have looked at a different bow company.
Yeah. If I'm going to get a new bow in the next few years, and if I don't get any other input besides what you're about to tell me, that will be the bow that I
Hmm.
get, Part of it is it just doesn't really matter as much as people think it does.
Oh no,
What matters is
yeah,
if you can shoot, you
correct.
know.
Uh, we had this talk, me and my buddies, and it's Matthews, Hoyt, Prime. It's the Chevy, Ford, and Dodge. They're all gonna haul a trailer the same. It just matters what emblem you like better.
Right, right. What about some of the other ones?
Oh, as in truck companies?
No, yeah. What would be a bear, or in terms of performance? Where's a bear in the auto market, or a
Oh,
bow tech, or a PSE?
they're all the same. They all
Okay,
shoot great. They're all wonderful bows.
okay,
Way better than the 25-year-old Hoyt my dad was shooting.
okay. Yeah, they've come a long ways, but
Oh yeah.
but not so far. They're not develop. They're not improving so rapidly that you have to get a new one every year.
Oh,
You
that kills me.
know?
And I do want to talk about that once we get into the research, but Matthews came out with their new bow this year, and it was the upgrade to their I don't remember what the lift. Now it's the Lift X. And it was all this revolutionary technology. And the revolutionary technology that I saw was you can swap out the grips for different ergonomics on your grip, and then you can make fine-tune adjustments and not have to put it in a bow press. And even me and my buddies, we were saying, like, oh, maybe my dad should have waited because he just bought the lift last year. And I had said he shouldn't have. It doesn't do anything new. And it's being marketed as this wonderfully brand new cutting edge technology when
Of
it's going to
course,
shoot just as good as
or
my 3 or
bad.
4 year old one, depending on the archer, right?
Yeah. So wait a minute. You can make what kinds of adjustments without putting it in a bow press? Because that sounds kind of nifty.
Honestly, for kind of out west hunting, I do think it would have a better application than say like here in Michigan where we're sitting in a tree stand and hunting whitetails. Um, I I gotta look. I looked at it probably 8 months ago. Um, I can't remember what it is, but it's
But
it's something with the axles.
you can compress the limbs without a bow press.
No, it's tuning called limb shift technology to micro adjust their tune with a simple turn of a
Oh,
wrench.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you can tune
whatever.
your bow without a bow press, which I've tuned my bow once and it's shot fine ever since. It matters on where my anchor points are more than it does the tune of my bow.
Yeah. I had oh, on my first date that I was telling you about, I had the string come off my bow,
No, that's
like
tough.
a few miles back in the mountains. And I had a ratchet strap with me, and my date and I were able to get the string back on with that ratchet strap,
No kidding.
yeah, compressing it. And then that first Christmas, that we were together, a few months later, she bought me a bow press. And then a, a couple years later, I was much further back in the mountains, and I was crossing a creek and I fell down and I stand back up and I'm like, oh, is my bow okay? And the peep is gone.
Oh no.
And I had that bow press, and you need something that's got kind of a groove so you can fit it into the string and a hole through it. And I start looking around like, there's no way I have something like that, is there? And I look at my pants, and the button on my pants is like that.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the groove around the outside, so it'll fit in the string. It's got a little hole in the middle, which is where it fits into the male part.
Right.
Yeah, so I compressed the bow with that thing she got me and slipped that in there and tied it in, and I shot an elk 2 days later looking through the buttonhole in my pants.
Imagine how much easier it would have been if you had the new limb shift technology
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
Matthews Lift X.
Right, right. Yeah, so there's a lot of bullshit about, yeah, they got to make some little tweak every year and then make a big hubbub about it so that you
They got
feel
to give
like
you
it.
a reason to buy one,
Yeah.
right?
Those things have gotten freaking expensive, man.
Oh yeah, my bow. I don't even know how they are now. My bow a couple of years ago, I think 2021, was north of $1,500.
Yeah. When do you think you'll replace it?
Uh, when I pass it down to my kids after I pass away.
Good for you. Good for you. I have a friend that's a great elk hunter, and he hunts with a 1984 PSE.
Hmm.
It's got the pulleys are about as big around as a beer can.
My dad
Yeah.
had like I said, he was a 2002 or 2003 Hoyt. And he hunted with that for a long time, shot a lot of deer with that bow, got it secondhand. And finally I was like, Dad, this sounds like a compressed nail gun when we're out here shooting at the target block. It might be time for you to upgrade. So he did. But one of the reasons I had to upgrade, and I guess we can get into the research, is my parents bought me a bow when I was like 15, and it was a PSC Stinger 3G. Still have it out in my garage, but my wingspan has grown exponentially since then. I'm 6'6". I've got a 32 and a half.
Jeez.
Yep. So I was shooting this Stinger 3G PSE with my arm about as bent as it could be. I had no consistency in my shot.
Uh-huh.
I remember shooting at one deer. We took our bows up. Me and my buddy in college, we would go hunt. We had access, went door knocking and found a couple of property owners that had access to like an acre that butted up to public land. Well, I took a shot at a deer with this bow up there and just completely whiffed the shot because of how small the bow was on me. And after
Yeah.
that, I waited a long
Your
time.
arms all rainbowed out.
Yep. It
Yeah.
was really bad. And even at that, my shooting mechanics, even to this day, if yes, once I get tired, my arm will naturally come in because I shot so long with that old bow. I'm still
Oh,
unlearning bad habits.
oh, sure. Yeah. There's almost a case to be made that kids shouldn't shoot
You're saying that kids shouldn't shoot?
just because they just pick up crappy habits that are then later. Man, I've seen some dudes pick up bows in a month after they picked them up. They're like shooting better than me because they haven't accumulated all these crappy habits, you know.
Some of it too, in my opinion, is the you almost overanalyze your shot every time. I've got kind of a um
Shot process,
yeah, I don't know what you want to call it, but
a
I just make sure I do the
ritual.
same thing. Yeah, I was a system, whatever you want to call it. You listen to Rogan, he makes it sound like Joe Rogan makes it sound like it's a big researched thing that's way more complex than it needs to be. But I completely lost my train of thought, Matt.
Oh, that's all right. Do you have
Oh, it's the like you almost overanalyze it. So I'm trying to focus on too much within that shot process. Instead of most guys will just get up and pull the bow back, shoot, and then they're doing great and think that they're the best archer on the face of the planet.
because they're just letting their gut
They're just
instinct
yeah, they're
take
newbies
over.
and
Yeah.
and natural.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Now it's starting to warm up, man. I'm gonna pick it up big time.
I was just talking to my buddies about it last night. We've still got a little bit of snow here in Michigan, but we had about a foot and a half here this year. Been waiting for it to melt down, and I'm getting the shot block out as soon as I can. I've been
Y-
itchy for it.
yeah, good for you. Okay, you want to tell me what you got?
Yeah, so I looked at a couple of different companies. I looked at Hoyt, PSE, Prime, Bear, Bowtech, and Darton. And the only reason I looked at those is because really they're the most predominant bows that I see around. And then as I started to get into some of these more niche brands, I couldn't find a whole lot of information on them. And even at that, like Matthews doesn't have an Instagram, Hoyt doesn't have an Instagram, so some of the data doesn't exactly tell the same story. Um, but there's enough here to talk about it. So I wanted to look at pro staff members and what they consider their pro staff or whatever it is that they call them, and then how many target archers do they have on staff that or that they sponsor to go out and shoot at archery tournaments.
So another part of this, just for background, in case you're somebody that doesn't, there's somebody listening that doesn't listen often, is that how do I put this? A bow company is going to rank better from like a hunt quietly perspective the fewer influencers it has on their pro staff,
Right.
because we don't like using dead and dying animals to sell products. It it it, it's I don't know, it just incentivizes hunting for crappy reasons. And again, it's like we're not trying to pass any laws, but we'd
Right.
rather support archery companies that do less of that. So yeah, carry on.
Um, I also looked at endorsed organizations, but the only endorsed organizations that I could find or a company that does endorse organizations is actually Bear Archery. So they're the only one that does. Um, and then I actually looked at once they were in these few different companies, what percentage of their 2024 social media posts consisted of dead and dying wildlife. Um, and it almost would kind of make your stomach turn on how often these guys are using pictures of dead wildlife to market these bows.
So with Matthews and Hoyt, you weren't able to look at that.
I looked at Matthew's Facebook because I looked at Facebook and Instagram
Oh,
to give
okay.
some kind of consistency.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Um, so ranking in the best of pro staff members who these people or these companies endorse actually comes to Bear. Bear Archery, from what I can find, only has two pro staff members.
No. What's their story?
Um, I can look back on them from what I saw. They looked like solid guys. The problem is that all these pro staff members are also going to show the dead and dying wildlife on their own Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, because they get paid every time somebody goes and purchases a bow from these companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's all right. But presumably they're not guys I would know their names anyway. They're not
I
like top guys. They're
I didn't
like
recognize them.
highly followed guys or whatever.
No.
Okay.
Bowtech for both their pro staff and target archers, it was just contingency. So how do people do within um target tournaments? And how well do you shoot? You get paid based off of your performance.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I didn't see the Bowtech had a pro staff, so to say.
Okay. Okay.
Um, PSE was a hard one because, from my understanding, PSE was bought out just a couple years ago, and then their parent company kind of went dead.
Oh,
So there's been very little PSE activity on social media from what I can find. And if any
okay.
of them are, they're extremely regional.
Are they still putting out bows?
I think so.
Okay.
Um, it's been a couple years since I've been in the bow purchasing.
Yeah.
Matthews surprisingly did well. Matthews was the one I thought was going to be the complete worst. Because you think about, at least for
They're
me,
horrible in terms of leasing land for hunting celebrities, but
I
um
think um, they put a lot of money into their pro staff members, though. Like,
okay.
I don't know if you know who Chris B is. He's really big on
Oh
YouTube.
yeah. Yeah.
He he gets paid truckloads of money by Matthews, from what I understand, and I unfortunately can't find the information online because most of these, or if not all of these companies, are held privately. So a lot of these
Just to
numbers.
back up for a second, PSE is definitely still making bows.
That's so surprising that there's been, because I was searching forever on where I could find their social media
Oh,
posts.
they have a website and they got 2025 bows on it.
They must be more just using the old model of archery shops.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we like PSE.
I can tell you definitely 100% who is the worst. And you guys might be um, surprised, but it is Hoyt.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that at all. That's who I would have guessed is the worst.
Yeah. How many pro staff members do you think Hoyt Archery has?
I know they've got John Dudley, who's a freaking total tool.
Which he
And
used to be a PSE guy.
yeah, and then, but I think he was a Hoyt guy before that. I think he went
So he's
Hoyt.
flip flopped.
Yeah, he's a flip flopper. And they've got the biggest tool in all of hunting, Cam Haines. Uh,
Keep hammering.
and so I don't know who else.
47 pro staff members from what I could
Whoa,
count.
whoa, that's a lot of gripping and grinning right there, ladies and gentlemen.
And all of these pro staff members, from what I saw, I didn't look at 47 different ones, but um, they were all dead and dying wildlife all over the posts.
Do you have anything that when we're done with this that you could like summarize this it really briefly and send it to me so I could put it on our Instagram? I'd love to put out the least shitty archery company Instagram
Yeah,
post.
sure.
Okay. However you do it, it's the more like objective it can be, the better. I know
Sure.
you just kind of casually looked around, but if you wouldn't mind
Sure.
a quick synopsis. So yeah, so far the pictures that's emerging is there's some companies that are kind of flying under the radar. Maybe that's because they just don't have the budget. Like PSE is struggling. Some companies like Bowtech, they focus on their they use target shooters to do their advertising more than hunters.
Yep.
And then you got Matthews, and who like like I say, they spend a lot of money like leasing hunting land for people and celebrating people like Chris B, who like is the biggest spot burning son of a bitch on the planet and caused a major stink earlier this year in Australia where he shot a Cape buffalo. I think it was a Cape buffalo. I think they're introduced in Australia like 5 times all over in the body and like filmed it and put it out and it caused a huge controversy and then they took it down.
And Australia isn't one that's entirely enthused about things like hunting as it is.
No, no, no. I think now since then, hunting has been totally banned there. Now,
Since Chris B shot a Cape buffalo? No kidding.
yeah, but I don't think I came out with something that on our Instagram insinuated very strongly that he was the cause of it, and a few people said no, that was in the works before Chris B publicized his like grotesque Cape Buffalo hunt or whatever. Might not even have been a Cape Buffalo. I don't something that he was shooting shooting in the ass and in the ear and whatever. And they corrected me on it and I took that down. So I don't want to spread false information.
Nonetheless, even if he didn't cause the law, if there was any kind of momentum to reverse that law,
It certainly would have
it's
been curtailed by
yeah,
that. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So as we were talking, I did look on PSE's website. I can find now their social media, but I searched the internet, I searched on the social media platforms, I couldn't find anything.
They knew
Fleming
they knew that Hunt Quietly was gunning for them. So they went dark for a few
they
days.
blocked my IP address. From what I can see, it's not as frequent as I just thumbed through the posts. There's not as many pictures of dead and dying wildlife.
Okay.
It really does focus on their bows.
Okay. Okay.
And then Darton, I couldn't find for um, pro staff or archers. I could find applications, but I couldn't find the actual members of their pro staff.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh there's some other little ones too, right? Like Athens. Did you
Yeah, there's
run
smaller bow companies.
there's several.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it was funny because one of the first places I went was Reddit and asked, hey, I'm doing some research to figure out what bow companies, archery companies don't use pictures of dead and dying wildlife on their social media to market their bows. Does anybody know of any place?
Oh, and they came at you with hate,
Oh,
probably,
big time. They
man.
thought I was this anti-hunter. They thought I
Yeah.
was, a gun grabber, whatever you want to call me. And geez, it was something to fight my way out of that one. I did get a couple of like, "Hey, we understand what you're trying to do, but it kind of seems like a lost cause." And they had said there was a company up in Canada that primarily uses or builds bows for target archers.
Okay.
But I didn't know that if that was necessarily fair to compare a
Oh,
target bow to a hunting bow.
but I mean, could you use a target bow when you're up for hunting?
So, from my understanding, the axle to axle on a target bow is significantly greater than that of a hunting bow.
Oh,
And as a fella who has a bow that believe is a 34-inch axle to axle, it's a large footprint bow. That's my bow because how long my draw is, and it can be difficult to get in and out of spots, and even sit in some spots with a larger
okay.
bow.
So if you're going to be going into confined spaces, you might
You're
not.
gonna need a smaller bow.
Okay, so that rules out bow tech.
No, no, because Bowtech does
They make
uh
hunting
yeah, they
bows.
make hunting bows.
Yeah. It's so funny that you get maligned as an anti because you're trying to find a bow company that doesn't put pedal dead and dying wildlife on social media. Meanwhile, like I'm imagining if I go to the Hoyt Instagram or the Hoyt
Good
Facebook,
luck.
good luck what?
Good. It's just riddled.
Oh, okay, so and it's all big shit.
Hmm.
The NSSF American Attitudes Towards Hunting, Shooting, Fishing, and Shooting Sports survey comes out every 2 years, and it's the results of that survey are very stable through time. They fluctuate maybe a bit, but like 30, only about 35% of Americans are on board with trophy hunting.
Oh, really? Holy smokes!
68%. No, 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 it's higher than that. It's like 76% are on board with hunting for meat.
Oh, okay, that would
So,
make more
but
sense. Yep.
you like say, I'm trying to find an archery company that doesn't plaster the internet with dead stuff,
Hmm.
and they call you an anti-hunter. You know,
Hmm.
it's almost there's a better case to be made. It's like we're talking about a company that cares more about selling bows than they do maintaining our reputation and our ability to do what we love.
And
It's like,
that's
how are they not the ones that are maligned as being anti-hunter adjacent? It's just such, I
it's
don't
bullshit.
know. It's
If
like,
I can say that,
yeah, absolutely you can, but it's just such incomplete thinking.
it's very
Everybody,
simple-minded.
here's another thing that just drives me nuts. Like when that anti-hunting bill that was going to ban predator hunting in Colorado was going on, everybody was unified against that bill. Everybody in the hunting space. But then um you put out somebody will put out you question somebody for putting out like graphic content saying, man, we got to be careful, we don't want to offend people. And then those people, when you do that, they're like, fuck the antis, you know it's America, I'm gonna do what I want. It's like, which is it? Which is it? Like, you only come to the rest, you only fight when there's a bill, but you won't
Yep.
comport yourself on a
Hmm.
daily basis in a way that makes it so that there's less momentum for anti-hunting bills. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
One of
There's
the long
so much I don't understand though
the
in this
problem is
area.
that most folks don't actually understand. Let's just say politics, and there's a lot of politics when it comes to hunting.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the firearm question, then there's the public access question, then there's the rights to animals question. And then you want to start to get into personal freedoms and the ability to do this, do that. I agree with you, and I don't think you're a guy who's saying that we should restrict anybody's personal
Hell no.
freedom.
I
Yeah.
would fight for somebody's right to blow a deer's head off and put it on Instagram.
Hmm.
You know?
But that doesn't make it morally good. It doesn't mean that it's good for the tradition of hunting,
No,
in
I'm
which
just
we
trying
need
to
to
make
protect.
I'm just trying to make the case that we should police ourselves.
Correct.
you
And
know?
the anti-hunting community will say or assume that when we're doing this, we're having these conversations that go a little deeper than just, hey, shooting deer is good, or gun bad, whatever you want to say. We can have deeper conversations about what does it look like to actually be a conservationist, because that's what we are as outdoorsmen, are conservationists.
Yeah.
So let's not just worry about conserving animals or conserving land. Let's worry about conserving the tradition of hunting, which is under attack,
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
inside and outside.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And then you get another contingent that anytime you say something negative about another hunter, you get people riled up for doing that, you know? But I think that shit's critical because people are doing they're just going against their own interests to such a high extent, you know?
Yep.
Uh, I put this quote out on our Instagram last week. The greatest threat to hunting isn't external, it's internal, arising from our collective failure to police our own ranks and morals, to distance ourselves from negative industry and advertising influences. That was written by David Peterson in his book, A Man Made of Elk.
How long ago was this?
I don't know when that book came out. I'd have to look. But
Because it's telling.
yeah, it had to be fairly recent.
Politics is always, and for good or for bad, a lagging indicator of culture. And whether we have the complete control over that. So what I mean is how the culture, how the community reacts to actions is what politicians are going to do to try to win over the voting population. So if
Okay.
we are doing something so egregious and bad that makes the majority of the outside population go, hey, what is going on with hunting? Maybe this is too barbaric for us to keep around anymore. I guarantee you in 10, 15 years after that, or after that cultural shift, you're going to see bills to ban hunting, make hunting harder. You have to, um, have more licenses and file an application each year to make sure that you're uh, eligible to hunt and in the right mental space to hunt. Those
Yeah,
things will happen.
that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I think another example of that is the commodification of wildlife. Over time, there's been more and more media and more and access to game has gotten more and more expensive. And over time, state legislators have gotten more and more and more involved in uh, regulating wildlife,
Hmm.
you know, because they smell money.
Hmm. It's funny you mentioned that because I try to wrap my head around this movement within hunting to expand the hunting community and make it bigger, which I would love new hunters. And I love it when people come into the tradition and the lifestyle of hunting. But I like it when they come into it for genuine reasons. I want to feed my family with meat where I know the source is from. I want to be more connected to nature, not I want to put a picture of a Boone and Crockett buck on my Instagram story.
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
We're
I mean, it's
saying,
weird. It's a weird. I have a weird. I can't even really state my opinion on it. It's like I don't want them to. I don't like hunting media. I don't want if people. I don't want people to come into it because of hunting media. I'd rather
no,
there wasn't hunting media. You know.
I would rather people come into it because they love the outdoors and they want to be more connected to God's creation rather than, like I said, I want to chase clout on social media.
Right. Right. But I would. I mean, one of the things I don't like about hunting media is because it brings more people in. Now, it could. I mean, and part of it, I guess, it. What? But you got to look at the kind of people that it
Correct.
brings in. You know, it's not like when somebody's watching some YouTuber and they decide to get a bow, it's like they just want the hunting. They want to make the videos and get the likes and the free gear too,
Yep.
you know? So I'd rather somebody came into it because they were out hiking and they came across a hunter and had a interesting discussion with the hunter,
Hmm.
or go to a party, a Christmas party, and somebody brought some venison meatballs. You know,
Yep.
that should be how it goes, in my opinion.
And too many folks, I think, really miss your point on that because they hear well, we don't need R3 is bad. We don't need to recruit hunters. Because a lot of the questions that I get when I talk to people about, like, I don't know if recruiting hunters actively is the best idea. They'll say, well, don't you want more hunters? Well, yes, I would like more hunters, but I want more people that are into the tradition of hunting.
Yeah, so I don't want more hunters. We have more hunters in this country right now than at any point in the history of this landmass, except for 10-year period spanning 1975 to 1985. I guess it, what matters at the end of the day is not what you want, it's what you instantiate, what you do. And I'm very clear there. It doesn't matter if I want more hunters. What matters is what we do. And there I'm clear. I don't want my conservation and access dollars that I give to a nonprofit to go to hunter recruitment. And I don't want anybody else's to go to hunter recruitment. I don't like nonprofit based hunting recruitment. I don't like hunting media. I think it brings people in, brings them in often for the wrong reasons. There's no if anything, it incentivizes gobbling up land for yourself. There's no mentorship about sharing. Sharing is not a message that you hear in hunting media, you know.
No.
Um, so I guess I don't know if that makes sense to you, Robert. I'm not able to. It doesn't really matter whether I say I want more hunters or less. I kind of tend. If you press me hard enough, I'd say less. But I can definitely say what I do and don't want us to do as a community. I
Yeah,
don't
what do
want
you
us to do
want
it.
hunters to do? Are the hunters within the community more or less going, even if there's only two hunters worldwide, are those two hunters, you and another person included, going to make the tradition of hunting or put the tradition of hunting at risk to be
I
outlawed, to do whatever?
I just don't think that there's a need. I mean, I think that that need is sated. The need for a hunting community, for a vibrant community of hunters, is met. So why in the world, and 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 everybody on public land, their experience is in some way compromised by other hunters every
Yep.
year. It's just hard for me to look at hunting, the world of hunting, and go like, what we need more of, what we need is to have more people, you know? And some of the arguments are just so disingenuous, and they're always from people that make more money when there's more hunters. The arguments
Well,
for
that's the point is, and even when what we're talking about here with bow companies, these bow companies or any outdoors company, they want more hunters because more hunters means more sales,
yeah, and the nonprofits want more hunters because it means more dues.
more memberships. You got it.
Uh, yeah, and I'm just the hunt quality guy, and
Hmm.
you know, and I don't know anybody else that has a podcast, a hunting podcast that is pro hunt quality. They're all absolutely anti hunt quality.
It depends. I mean, if you watch Chris B and his private access to Matthew's endless private acres, he's got a pretty good hunt quality. And
No,
then
no, no, no. They're anti hunt quality for the hunting
I
community.
agree
I'm not
because
talking about
then,
for myself.
yep,
I'm the only one that's uttering phrases and words on a regular basis that could be construed as trying to protect and restore hunt quality for the existing hunting community, whether they've been at it for 20 minutes or 20 years.
I agree with you
Everybody
completely.
else
Yep.
is against that. They're all, if you're a hunt promoter, if you're a hunting promoter, you're anti-hunt quality.
And that's my point because Chris B will get on and show these endless acres of private land that he's the only one who has
That
access.
guy's such a
And
tool bag, man. I can't hear his name without wanting to. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
you're okay. But then folks think they can go out and, well, I can do everything that Chris B just did. And then they end up camping right next to you at deer camp or hunting right next to you. My dad this year, we had been set up. We hunted all the way up to the opener of rifle season here in Michigan. We hunted the back end of archery, front end of rifle. Archery season, nobody was out. It was us and another camp about a mile down the road. Suddenly, the Orange Army here in Michigan comes out, and he's got a guy who's set up in rifle season about 200 yards to his north, pointed
Oh,
directly at him.
oh, and that's why we need more R3. It's like being in a cancer ward and being like, we need some cigarettes up in here. Let's get some cigs.
The only place I'll say, and where I do think that I somewhat disagree on the idea that I don't want more people engrossed in the outdoors and
Well, I'm
engrossed in
glad that
hunting.
you're willing to disagree with me because I love that, and there's nothing personal about it. So go ahead.
No, not at all. The outdoors has always been extremely special to me and my family. We've had a ton of just wonderful experiences. My buddies grew up hunting private land here in mid Michigan, and we grew up hunting public land in northern Michigan. So my buddies, for the first time a couple years ago, went up to deer camp with us for a week on public land and really, in my opinion, experienced real hunting. Chasing deer that aren't brought in by food plots, but you have to go out and find the deer, find the whitetails.
They're like, this
And it
sucks.
was to a certain point because you'd see 3 deer in 10 days. But then once you had those opportunities at deer, it meant that much more.
Oh, sure.
These deer were that much more special. Whereas on these, private farms down here or, west of here, you could shoot a doe a dime a dozen, but in public land, you may see one doe in 10 days and you go, well, this gave me one opportunity to bring some meat home. And that's just that much more special. And the stories are better. And then to bring in new hunters, like my little brother, he's just turned 16. He's starting to get into the outdoors and understand the importance and the enrichment of it. And I don't want anybody to miss out on that. But on
Bet
the other
people
hand,
better miss out on it if everybody did it. I mean, only 4.5% of Americans hunt. If you tripled that, nobody'd experience it.
the only
It'd
place
be
that that where I will disagree is that it's not going to be for everybody. My wife went out with me and got to experience gutting a deer before we got married, and she about puked when we got a deer.
yeah,
And
but
it's just not for
what
her.
I'm saying is if you increase even a bit, the total set here's what I'm a utilitarian about hunting. I want to maximize the utility, the value that hunting brings to society. And I think if we add more hunters, we decrease that. I'm
I
not
think
saying don't take your little brother. I'm just only thing I'm saying again is let's do away with hunting media, and especially when you consider all the hunting media people I know hate being around other people more than your average schmo, which is like comical. So wait a minute. The biggest thing, the most effective tool getting more people to hunting is hunting media. But these people that make the hunting media hate having other hunters around them worse than anyone.
that's so hypocritical,
Oh, it's absolutely
insanely.
true. It's absolutely true amongst several of the hunting celebrities I know,
But
especially my brother, and then you can just tell by their actions if they loved have. Oh, I just love other hunters. If that was the take, then why is it all on private land or
right.
flying into Alaska or whatever? You
But they'll
know?
take any of the sponsored brand endorsements or whatever else that they have, and they'll take your money through a partnered purchase, but they won't hunt right next to you or allow you onto the land.
No,
Yeah.
hell no. Hell no. So I'm no different than them. Matter of fact, they're worse than me. Like, I don't take hunting land out of the,
Yeah.
out of the
You don't gobble up
collective
hunting land.
pool of areas that you can hunt. They do that. All I'm saying is, I'm not going to support nonprofits to do R3, and I don't think you should either. And if hunting media was confined to a couple print magazines, everybody that hunts would be happier.
And I think I where I agree with you the most is that if you do want more hunters, and if you're somebody like me who says, "Hey, I want more people around me to hunt and experience it," then you should be the recruitment. You should take people out hunting. You should allow people on your land. You should share these experiences with people and let them figure out if they like it. Don't have them watch a YouTube video that's highly manufactured and let them think that they can go out and shoot a state record buck the first time that they're out because you're going to set
Yeah.
them up for failure.
Yeah. If you're somebody that wants more hunters to the point where you take them out to your spots and then say, you like this spot? Well, great. You can come here whenever you want, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I'll give you some GPS points to all my other spots. Like then I would say, oh, okay, this is somebody that really does want more hunters,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but yeah, I don't want more people in my spots or the spots that I hunt. When I say your spots, that's like, oh, gotcha. Oh, they're not your spots. Public land. You don't own it. All that shit. They just try to, there's all this like get you kind of stuff that goes on.
Oh yeah, yep.
But I don't want more people around me when I hunt. I don't want more people around my friends when my friends are hunting. When my friends come back into town after a day of hunting and they tell me that it was just a shit show, it makes me sad, you know?
But I do want more hunters that what I mean, whether we agree or disagree on more hunters, I do want the hunters that hunt to be respectful of other hunters. And
Absolutely.
hunting media has made that significantly worse. And these companies that we're talking about, and I haven't gotten into the posts yet. The
Oh,
these
we got more to go. We better get after it. But go ahead,
what
finish your point.
you they don't endorse that because they don't care about that. They care about selling you a bow. They care about selling you a new coat or a set of bibs. You're a customer. And that's what you have to view yourself as when you're purchasing products from these companies. You're a customer. Where do you want that company to then spend your money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, looking at the posts, Matthews had 680 Facebook posts in 2024. 140 of those use some sort of dead and dying wildlife. That's about 21%
Okay.
of their
Okay.
posts.
Okay. So you do have some quantitative data. That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome. Okay.
Hoyt was actually a little better. Their Instagram had 279 posts, and I should say Matthews didn't have Instagram. They do have Facebook. Hoyt's 279 Instagram posts, 46 of which were dead and dying wildlife. That's 16.5%.
Okay.
Two, 279 Facebook posts with 56 dead and dying wildlife at 20.07% on Facebook. So they're about even for dead and
Okay.
dying wildlife.
Okay.
Once you combine the two posts up, or the
Yeah.
two
Yeah. Yeah.
platforms up together.
Yeah.
PSE, like I said, I could find their Facebook before. I counted one post that had dead and dying wildlife out of 37, so they're not as active. I could not find their Instagram before. I do see it now, and it looks pretty consistent. It's very low, but
Okay.
they also don't post a whole lot.
Okay. Oh, but as a percentage,
It's
that
about
puts
two
it
and a half
on.
percent.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's not many, not much. Prime, 204 Instagram posts, 40 of which you said Dying Wildlife,
Okay. So
19 posts.
they're right in there. It's like they're collaborating on this. It's like a group decision. They're all in that 20% range.
Except on Facebook, Prime is almost 40%.
Oh.
37% Dead and Dying Wildlife. They
Oh
were actually
man,
the
you did a
worst.
lot of counting.
Oh
Thanks for
yeah.
doing this.
Yep. It was a lot of
Oh,
hand counting.
yeah. I appreciate it.
And then Bear was about 20%, but 13% on Instagram. So they're all pretty consistent
Oh,
across all.
except PSE.
PSC was the lowest, yeah.
Which is weird because you didn't even know if they were still making bows, but you found their Instagram or their
I
face.
found I found their Facebook. I knew that they had like I think it's the Mach 33. I couldn't tell if that was like an older model,
Oh, okay. Okay.
but
When's their last post date?
um
I'll pause while you look it up.
February
Oh,
as of
February.
now. Yeah, it was 3 days ago.
Oh, okay. They're still
They're intermittent. Like it was 3 days ago and then February 22nd. Usually once a week they're posting, so there's not that many.
What was
Whereas
that
Hoyt,
one? What was the subject? What was the topic matter of that one?
that
Their
one,
new limb design or something?
yeah, it actually says the only way to get better is to put in the reps, get outside and shoot. And it's just a picture of
Okay.
their bow,
Okay.
which is good advice.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Right.
I kind of feel like I knew that already, but
Thanks, PSE. Thanks, PSE's marketing team.
Bowtech?
Bowtech was about 23%, and I could only find regional Facebook groups.
Okay.
So it would have been really hard to quantify.
Okay. Regional Bowtech. Oh, like so the dude that's the rep for the Eastern US has a Facebook page that's devoted to them.
From what I can see, I'd be like
Yeah. Okay.
Bowtech, Eastern US, Bowtech
Okay.
Canada.
Okay. Oh, this is great. This is great
And then
information.
Darton was 226 Instagram posts with 59 um, using Dead and Dying Wildlife for about
Okay, a
26%.
quarter. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No, so
Those
that'll be good stuff to get people fired up, get people pissed off. They'll be
these
like,
were all
"Oh, I'm going to
January.
go with Hoyt. They had the highest." It'll be something like that. That's what they'll all do. Thanks a lot. I just ordered my new Hoyt. Thanks to your research.
The one, as I look and when I emailed you the results, I'd said I might be biased, but Bear to me was the one that had the best blend. They were the most active. They respected the tradition of hunting. Of course, Fred Bear is a legend
Yeah.
in archery, but a real legend here in Michigan. They just put a statue in Michigan here of Fred Bear. Yeah,
Oh, is he from Michigan?
he is. Yeah,
Okay. Whoa, a statue.
I'm trying to. I should know. I should know this being a Michigander, but it's either Grayling or Gaylord. I
Oh,
want to say it's
okay.
Great
I
Gaylord.
should know that. I grew up there.
Grayling. Yeah.
Okay.
City of Grayling put up a Fred Bear statue holding a recurve bow.
Oh, is that where he's from? Or is that just where they
Yes.
put okay. Okay. Um, huh. Well, anything else?
I think overall, you have to transition your train of thought when you're purchasing from these companies. And speaking as a guy who's bought a lot of stuff from a lot of the companies that, even now I would look back and go, I don't know, I wouldn't make those purchases. Um, you really have to consider, where is the money being spent? Are they advocating for what I want? Are they supporting people who advocate for what I want? Are they going to keep the tradition of hunting alive? Because the transition in the tradition of hunting is going from a way to connect with the outdoors and provide for your family, to it's a way to show that you can go out and kill a deer on a $20,000 ranch and show that you're the biggest, toughest man on campus.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And they could do a better job of just preserving the culture as it should be, as it was, you know.
Correct.
Hunting's supposed to be humble, man.
It is.
It's supposed to be, and that's some ancient shit, you know. The Inuit, they said that the Inuit said that if you brag about hunting, then the animals will stop giving themselves up to you. They believe the animals gave themselves up to people.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Jutiskansi people in West Africa, they had very rigid cultural mores about bragging about hunting.
Really.
Yeah.
A real respect for the wildlife then.
If you type in, I don't think they were trying to maintain egalitarianism. They didn't want
Oh.
so yeah. So if you type in shaming the meat,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you'll get some writings by this sociologist from Canada that wrote about those guys in the 70s, Richard Borish Lee.
Okay.
And yeah, there's some awesome quotes in there about the importance of humility in hunting. It's just not, yeah. So the archery companies, they really do celebrate people that like to gloat over trophies.
Well, yeah, because the idea to these companies is that if you purchase a Matthews or a Hoyt bow, that's going to make you a better hunter. But it's actually field time that's going to make you a better hunter. It's practicing your shot that's going to make you a better shot. It's not the Matthews bow in your hand.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if people were going to take something home from this, I guess it'd be, if you at the simplest level, you know, if you really wanted to do something to advance the hunt quietly values, you'd maybe ask these companies, hey, I'm thinking about getting a new bow. Have you guys done anything for access this year?
Mm-hmm.
Or even simpler still, buy a PSE and send a letter to the other companies saying, I was looking at your bows, but it's gross, so I went with a PSE. I don't know, something like that.
The
But
the the other thing too would be to, of course, have a
this is all
relation.
pie in the sky. Nobody's going to do this shit. But at least we're trying to get the conversation started, you know?
Hey, if one person does, and whoever is the mail handler at Hoyt Archery goes, huh? Yeah, I don't really care, but it'll get them to start thinking, and then those
Yeah.
conversations can happen internally. Um,
What would change things a whole bunch would be if access and conservation work became the selling point instead
yeah,
of instead of Dudley and Haynes and the like. It's like, I'm buying my bow from this company because they opened up some land and they did this conservation
mhm,
project. Instead
I
of,
agree.
I'm buying mine from Hoyt because Cam Haynes killed 6 bulls last year with his, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately, too many people go, oh, Cam Hanes and Joe Rogan talk about Hoyt on his podcast, so I guess I need to go buy
Yeah,
a Hoyt
yeah,
bow
of
because they're the
course,
best.
of course.
And you can't do that.
And
You have
yeah. And you can't blame people for that. I mean,
not at all. I did it. I did it when I bought my Matthews.
yeah, yeah.
And
But
I mean, even now, I love my Matthews, but it uh, it really opens your eyes when you look at a company like Bear, which I wrote off because that was the value bow, and I wanted something better than the value bow. But if I would have
okay,
looked at what Bear does and the actual quality bows that they provide and the long-standing tradition that Bear archery is within the archery community, the organizations that endorse them or that they endorse, what is it that they do? I could have had a different conversation and actually considered Bear instead of just Hoyt, PSE, or Matthews.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is awesome. Anything else, or does that pretty much cover it?
No, I appreciate it. Having the opportunity to come on and, share my little piece of opinion in this big conversation that's taking place.
Yeah. So you'll send me that stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you mind hanging on for a second while I stop? There's another research project I want to talk to you about for a
Yeah,
minute. Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks.